The XJ Talk Show is for entertainment purposes only. Any advice or information provided on this show should be verified by alternative sources prior to making any changes or modifications to your vehicle. We are not experts, just people that enjoy the Jeep hobby and don't mind talking endlessly about it. P.S. We love you.
Show is on the air. Okay, it's a podcast. Oh, you know what I mean. Anyway, here's Tony and Josh.
First Week in Jeep.
Well, we knew it was bound to happen sooner or later. Another round of recalls hits the automotive market, and this time, well, it's Chrysler and Jeep on the chopping block. Chrysler Group has issued safety recalls for 747,000 vehicles because problems associated with alternators and electric power mirrors and such. The company is recalling 434,581 model year 2011 to 2014 Chrysler 300, Dodge Charger, Challenger, Durango, and Jeep Grand Cherokee vehicles equipped with a 3.6-liter engine and a 160-amp alternator. And that's the key thing here. It's because the alternators may suddenly fail in these vehicles, which would cause a potentially dangerous engine stall, which we all know would kill you. Chrysler also issued a recall for 313,326 model year 2011 to 2013 Jeep Wranglers over a wiring issue in power mirrors. It may result in a fire. Now, you stare at that mirror too long, you have it out of adjustment, well, it's going to burst in flames and you will die. This is the second recent recall for Chrysler. Of course, earlier this week, the company issued safety recalls for 2014 model year Dodge Durango and Jeep Grand Cherokee SUVs to fix a potential problem with the airbag safety system. The recall covers 184 some odd thousand vehicles globally, including 126,000 some odd vehicles in the U.S. An electronic unit in these vehicles, the occupant restraint control module, that does kind of sound important, doesn't it? Can develop a short circuit. That doesn't sound so important. Or, well, it sounds important, but certainly not good. That may result restraint systems such as the airbags and seatbelt pretensioners to shut off and airbag warning lamps to illuminate on the dashboard. These recalls push the total number of such safety announcements deep into record territory. And already this year, automakers have issued more than 50 million vehicle recalls, far more than any previous year to date. Guys, if you would like to submit a story to be aired on This Week in Jeep, or you have one of your own, or in response to one of the stories you've heard on This Week in Jeep, please call us, give us a call, or send an email to newstips@xjtalkshow.com.
I'm pretty sure it's Obama's fault. 50 million recalls.
Yeah, that's what we need. We need a good old-fashioned blame-storming session.
Well, we've been kind of having that.
XJTalk.com is where you go when you're not off-road. And now you can go to XJTalk.com when you're off-road too. Using your smartphone, install the Tapa Talk app, then search for XJ Talk. Take XJ Talk with you wherever you go. Jury duty, dinner with your spouse's parents, even, well, anywhere you need your XJ Talk fix. Hey, you. Yeah, you. The one just sitting there listening to the XJ Talk Show. Why aren't you a part of it? What? Tell me more, you say? Well, it's pretty simple. You can become an XJ Talk Show reporter. All you need is a smartphone and the ability to talk to people. Just email reporter@xjtalk.com for more information.
Today's podcast brought to you by Audible.com. Over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Kindle, or MP3 player, your Android, whatever device you got. I'm sure they got a book for you. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial over at www.audibletrial.com/XJTalkShow.
YouTube love. No, it's not. That's not something recently banned on YouTube. It's a little segment we have here to share our appreciation for our new YouTube subscribers. We got like 649 or something now, Josh.
Yeah, that's awesome. Nice little jump here recently and knocking on the door of 200,000 views. So keep up the good work, guys, and make sure you keep spreading the word. We take a few, 4 to be exact, names out of the list every week. No particular order, so if you haven't heard yours yet, stick tight and, sign up and make sure you subscribe to get on the list. Mr. Bomber Boy 82 on number 1 spot.
Must like the peanut butter. 7J9R5.
Interesting. I'd have a hard time remembering that one. Jimmy Ryder in our number 3 spot.
Oh my gosh, Mr. Jose Angel Rogloways.
There he is.
Les Nessman. So don't forget to go over to youtube.com/XJTalk and subscribe.
That's all you got to do.
Did I mention I'm really tired? So let's get to our Nikki G voicemail. Hey, this is Tony.
And this is Josh from the XJ Talk Show. We want to thank you for calling our 24/7 voice line.
Yes, we do. Just leave your first name and your question or comment.
There's no guarantee, but we may play your message on the podcast.
Oh, and don't worry about keeping it clean. We'll take care of that.
Now it's your turn to speak at the beep.
Hey, this is Mickey G, and I think I want to give a compliment and then give a bitch. But, I'll start off by saying that on my way to Food Line yesterday, I passed a woman on the side of the road, had a flat tire in an old beat-up Chevy truck. And so I pulled over to offer assistance, and I took the jack out of my Jeep, my tire iron, and
That's really strange.
Jacked up her car and took her tire off.
We're going to stop that one because that's not the right one.
I was going to say, I just putting in chat, I swear we've played this one.
Yeah, that was last week. So, and then the wheels came off.
That's all right. It's, technical difficulties every now and again. Voicemail gets relabeled, shuffled around. Guys, we have so many audio files that we have to juggle around on a regular basis that sometimes something falls through the cracks. Doesn't get, queued up in the right manner. We lose track of it. One thing or another ends up leading to be where it's not where it's supposed to be. And these kind of things happen when you're juggling around this kind of level of audio files and everything else. So that's it. Hang on. We should have it here in just a few minutes.
Yep. I was really proud because I forgot to put the Josh's Subconscious on, and I knew I only had about 38 seconds because of the Nikki G, and I had it ready. And then I started playing Nikki G when I went, wait a minute, that's last week's. All right, so let's take a pause, and then I'm going to start it from the voicemail announcement.
Okay.
Hey, this is Tony.
And this is Josh from the XJ Talk Show. We want to thank you for calling our 24/7 voice line.
Yes, we do. Just leave your first name and your question or comment.
There's no guarantee, but we may play your message on the podcast.
Oh, and don't worry about keeping it clean. We'll take care of that.
Now it's your turn to speak at the beep.
Hey, this is Mickey G, and I want to apologize for my tirade last week about no spare tires and people who drive around like idiots without them. It's been brought to my attention by several people that the reason why the youth of today do not have spare tires is because there's no room in their trunk for a spare tire with all those damn speakers. So, I apologize. Almost, maybe. All right, gentlemen, I will chat you later. Have a good one. Bye.
Well,
see, I thought he'd go the direction with all the junk in the trunk, but he went the spare tire route. So
I was thinking that the tire was too big. When you put a 33 or a 35-inch tire, if you don't have a tire mount, where are you going to put it? But, But he wasn't helping off-road only vehicles whenever that voicemail that he sent in last week that it seems like I just heard. So, Josh, I know you'll be excited, and I know you're never aware because it's your subconscious, but we have a new Josh's Subconscious this week.
Oh.
Here we go.
Yoo-hoo! Oh, man, I can't believe it. I went to a party last night at the local dairy farm. At night, they turn it into the gay barn. It was so much much fun, and I must have fallen asleep, and when I woke up, I was underneath one of the dairy cows, and my first thought was, oh man, are you boys still here? I was utterly shocked. Oh well, toodaloo.
Utterly.
Utterly shocked. Yeah, I have to say, I was definitely utterly shocked to wake up underneath a cow.
From the mind of Nikki G.
That's what I don't get. This is a square of toilet paper, which is intended for your butt. Performs a very important function. This is for your nose. Why the size difference?
This has been from the mind of Nikki G.
Wise words indeed. Why the size difference?
As a philosophical question to this depth, I don't think has ever been asked before.
So sad, but true. Now, I know you guys really enjoy Steve 4.3LA.com and his segments. We have a new Jeep archive coming up for you right now. I don't care. I want to skip that. I've already made the mistake. Doing another thing wrong. Take a little pause.
Don't make me come down there.
I'd make you work the board. And now for a disclaimer. Jeep Tips is for entertainment purposes only. If you choose to follow these tips, man up and take the responsibility for your own actions. If you cannot, or you feel that working on your Jeep is beyond your abilities, seek the help or advice of a trained, certified mechanic.
Got a tip? We do. It's time for Jeep Tips.
Welcome back to Jeep Archives. Last time we left off, we were in the year 1946, and the CJ2A had hit the civilian market. The Willys M38 was still being produced for the military, and there was a number of little things that were updated for that. And now we need to look at what happened to the rest of the civilian market for Willys. Now we got to go back to about 1939 when Willys Overland was a car company that was much like what you would think of in American Motors, if you can remember back that far. Willys Overland was the car for the working man. It was the car that you could get and use for a economical commuter. It was the kind of a car that if you were living in an apartment, which was very common in those days, where there wasn't much parking space, you could get one of these smaller Willys cars, and you could drive it to work, and you could just be the regular working person. You go home to your apartment, you go back to work the next day. In other words, it was the car for people that had dull lives. But that wasn't selling very many cars in 1939. In fact, it hadn't sold very many cars for quite a while. Because even Ford, who had the original working man's car, had found that the working man's car, while initially was a good deal for them in the Model T and the Model A, was not the way of the future. People wanted style, they wanted speed, and the speed in those days was kind of relative. If you could find a road where you could hit 50 miles an hour, that was fast in 1939. Because, well, most roads were off-road at that point. But at any rate, the Ford Motor Company had departed from that. So had Chevrolet, so had Dodge. Everybody had figured out that if you made your cars go faster and with a little bit of style, you could sell cars. But Willys had not figured this out. And in 1939, they were bankrupt. And they had to reorganize and go through bankruptcy court and all that stuff to try to keep the Willys brand alive. So when 1941 came along and World War II was developing and they got the contract for the Willys MB Jeep, things were looking pretty good because they made a lot of Jeeps. And as a result, they went from financial insolvency to having a lot of money on their hands. And one of the things that they decided to do was to reinvent the civilian market. And they thought that Jeep was going to be their salvation, and it was. Willys cars never really did a lot. You can find a few that have been turned into hot rods, maybe a restoration here and there, but for Willys, they're known for their Jeeps because that's what they made the most of. And so during the Second World War, when they were making all this money, they were looking ahead to find out, what can we do when this war is over with? We can't just keep making these little Jeeps. What else can we do? Well, they decided to stick with their philosophy of the working man's vehicle, the vehicle that you take home, that type of thing. And they noted that there was going to be an emerging housing market right after World War II. And in fact, this is the case. Most people at that time lived in apartments. And if you look at the way that towns have grown, and if you want to take a little historical tour through the neighborhoods, you don't really see too many private houses until post-World War II. And in fact, there was two kinds of places you lived in town. There was the Victorian mansions, large, spacious, expensive for the day. And then there was the apartment that was many times above a business in a downtown building, or towards World War II, they started making them in large blocks, and people rented, and that's just the way it was. There was two kinds of homes. Take your pick. There was really nothing that we would call middle-class housing. And so with this post-World War II housing market that was emerging, and we're not talking big houses here, we're talking the quintessential 800-square-foot, two-bedroom house, they accurately projected that these people would need a station wagon in order to do that. And so the Willys station wagon was born in 1946. And it had some real technological innovations to it, if you want to call them that. One of them was that it was made out of stamped steel. All of the station wagons prior to that, and even during the early years of the Willys station wagons, were what we call woodies. And this is not a sexual thing. This is just what they were called. They were made out of wood. And Henry Ford started that by breaking up his packing crates and using them as car parts. And they didn't stop doing that. They were still using wood in their cars up until about 1950, when they copied Willys and started going to stamped steel panel trucks and so forth. But you could get the Willys as a family station wagon that had windows in it, or you could have a panel truck, and it didn't have the usual kind of tailgates that we have. It had the kind of a tailgate that was two doors that opened from the middle outward, and you could get to the back and had an amazing 114 cubic feet of storage in them. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot nowadays, but at that time, it was. And they were powered by an amazing 134 cubic inch Go Devil flathead four-cylinder engine, same one they put in the CJ2A and the Willys MB. And if you really wanted to upgrade and get the deluxe model in 1946, you could get the Lightning 161 cubic inch flathead 6. I hope you're finding these names kind of humorous, because they really are. Because in 1946, Ford was producing two versions of their flathead V8 for their cars. And I don't have the horsepower figures, but I've had a couple of them, and I can tell you that they were a whole lot faster than these four-cylinders and six-cylinder engines. And in fact, in those days and up into the late 50s, if you wanted a fast car, you went and got yourself your Ford Flathead V8 and you threw it in an old Model A that's been stripped down and put some speed parts on that were pretty common in those days, some high compression heads and dual and triple carburetors, and you could bore them out 3/8 of an inch if you wanted to. That's not a typo, folks. I didn't stutter. You could actually bore those motors 3/8 of an inch. I had one that was bored out 5/16 of an inch. And you could have a fairly fast car for the day. So these names now, with the Lightning and the Go Devil, they were really kind of slow motors. They didn't have much horsepower. With that little 4-cylinder, if you were coming up to a hill, it could smell it coming, and it would slow down before you even got to the hill. 134 cubic inch flathead 4-cylinder was not something that you wanted to drive in mountainous terrain because it was very slow, and you did a lot of 25 mile an hour as fast as you could go uphill traveling. In 1950, they made some changes. I want to back up. 1948, you could get the Willys station wagon in a 4-wheel drive version. It had the same 4-cylinder, T90 transmission, Spicer 18 transfer case, Dana 25 front end, and Dana 44 rear end in it. That the CJ2A had. And it was just basically a grown-up Jeep. And Jeep kind of stuck with that philosophy for quite a while. Another thing was that even though we had a little design change in 1950, we had the first boxy Jeep station wagon. I kid you not. It seems like it's the only kind of station wagon they knew how to make up until the 90s when they made the Grand Cherokee ZJ. The trend at the time was to have rounded aerodynamic corners. And in fact, if you look at a 40 Ford, which is famous, very collectible, and I think stylish, especially for the time, they are rounded aerodynamic cars. And in fact, some people who like to do drag racing, serious drag racing, like to use 44s because they are very aerodynamic. So Willys comes along with the boxy station wagon, the forerunner to our Jeep Cherokees. And they stuck with that boxy look and boxy design, like I said, clear up into the latter half of the 90s. So, in 1950, we have the boxy design, but we're going to get very aerodynamic here now. We're going to have a V-shaped grille. Still the slotted grille, but now it's got crossbars, chromed crossbars across the front. And I think that was about the only piece of chrome on them was in the grille. And they had flat fenders, stuck with the flat fender design that they had on the CJ2A, except that they were stylized flat fenders. They had a little contour to them. They'd learned how to stamp sheet metal a little better by this time, so now we had stylized flat fenders. And we got new motors. We got the Super Hurricane, the Hurricane, 134 cubic inch, and then later the Super Hurricane, 134 cubic inch. And we also got a 6-cylinder that was called the Tornado. That's later. We had the Hurricane 134 and Super Hurricane 161 cubic inch. And what were these? Well, they'd gone and taken a look at the engines, and gasoline had gotten better, and you could actually start buying octane gasoline. And if you are familiar with octane ratings, that's the rate at which gasoline burns when it's 100% octane. I don't think you can get a drop of octane in gasoline anymore. But anyway, That was the high test stuff, the premium. Sometimes they called it ethyl, depending on the brand. And they started upping the compression. And the way they did this at first was to take these L-head or flathead, if you want to call them, engines, and they put an overhead valve in them, which was on the intake side, and then they retained the exhaust valve in the block. This allowed them not to have to retool too much, and it did allow them to up the horsepower just by upping the compression, and so they squeezed a little extra horsepower out of the same tooling. Didn't have to recast the block too much, and away they go. So now we get up clear up to 1962. They get the 230 cubic inch. Now, this is sort of a big motor for the time. The 230 cubic inch Tornado engine. And one of the things that was ahead of its time on this was the fact that this engine was no longer an F-head, which is all they had been producing up until that time. They were way behind the times, so they decided to do some research and get way ahead of their times, and they produced the first production overhead cam engine, and it was an overhead cam 6-cylinder engine, and Jeep did not revisit this technology until the 1999 year when they put a 4.7 liter V8 in a Grand Cherokee with an overhead cam engine. So the Jeep station wagon, as boxy as it was, continued its production run for an amazing 19 years. Does this sound kind of like the XJ? Maybe they had a good thing going here. They produced 300,000 of these things, and that may not sound like a lot when you're talking 3 million XJs, but there's 10 times the amount of cars on the road now as there was then. In fact, probably more than that. So this was actually a good, long production for a model that really essentially changed very little. Now there's one other thing, and that is in our segment on CJ2As, I mentioned the Jeep commercials that you used to be able to see. One of the things that they did with the station wagon is they had the Maverick model, had an extra piece of chrome on it.
Well, that was fun.
What the heck was that?
Let's see.
Tony, you'll have to edit some of this out. Sorry about the phone call in the middle of my recording.
Wow, that was loud. Oh, you know what it was? He was recording on his cell phone.
The Jeep station wagon now had a special designation. The Maverick model had an extra piece of chrome on the door, right where the window rolls down there, that little area. Had some fancier instrumentation on the dash, and that was about it, except for the two-tone paint job. And it was called the Maverick Edition because it was Willys, that sponsored the Maverick show with James Garner in it. That was James Garner's first real claim to fame, and it was where we saw a lot of Jeep commercials. So they had a special model named the Maverick in honor of that show that started in 1963. So there we have it. The first four-wheel drive station wagon for the common person in suburbia. And they continued with that, even though there'd been a couple of company changes and reorganizations and name changes, clear up to this day. We still have the SUV that is aimed at the average person in suburbia that you can haul the kids, you can haul the groceries and a few things home. And it all started in 1946 with some very forward-thinking people in a company that almost went entirely bankrupt.
I don't know about you, Josh, but I'm going to have to go back and listen to see what ringtone that was that Steve had on his phone.
Yeah, I had a couple things going on a couple different tabs and stuff, and I freaked out. I was thinking, oh geez, I clicked on something and it started playing, some autoplay or something like that. I was freaking out, and so I'm closing everything up real quick, panicking.
Yeah, I was staring at you, going, "What are you doing?" Because I know right. I didn't do anything. And about about the time the music was done, I was going, "Oh, that's right. Steve warned me that there was a phone call in the middle of his segment." So when I edit to these things, guys, I just kind of get the noise out of it and then amplify the whole thing and then cut the ends off, and it's done. It's ready for the show, or so we think. Well, anyway,
man, if the cameras would have been on when that happened, you guys would have probably fallen out of your chairs or seats or whatever you're sitting in right now, watching Tony and I scramble and panic.
That's great. Anyway, that's live radio straight from the 50s, 1950s. So, Josh, we have some reviews, strangely enough.
Yeah, fantastic reviews coming out of this week, and you guys have been doing a great job there. We've encouraged you guys to head over to iTunes, leave those 5-star reviews, and it's the comments that we really like to hear. The 5-star reviews definitely help us. The comments is just an overall feedback. We'd love to hear from you guys about what you think of the show. Your overall opinion of it, good or bad. We want to hear about it. And so that's where the reviews and the ratings come in. So make sure you guys are heading over to iTunes and dropping those off. So, Tony, you want to take lead on this one?
Sure. I'm going to go with the most recent one. It is Awesome XJ Podcast from Mr. Miser?
MRI Meister.
MRI Meister. Okay. So anyway, 5-star rating, of course. Great podcast. Tony and Josh have great chemistry. Hope Homeland Security doesn't find out about that. They also have a great guest educational segments. Their voicemail segments are hilarious. That's you, Nikki G. Overall, great podcast. One of my favorites. I listen to every one.
Oh, that is good to hear.
That's great. Thank you.
Kind of stuff. Yeah, that might be Mr. I.M. Meister. Mr. I. Meister. In any case, maybe he's a radiologist. I don't know.
I like the MRI Meister. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got another one here. Comical podcast about Jeeps by D.L. Dunn. And he gave us a 5-star rating. Says, keep up the good work. Very nice there. I'm glad to hear that you guys are getting a little bit of entertainment out of this. And hopefully we're delivering a chuckle every now and again, too.
Yep. Oh, and I will mention that we normally come in and do, because sometimes we sound too professional, and we don't want to, like we're all above you guys and everything. So we say a couple of knuckleheads with microphones. Tonight is a perfect episode to go into that. Hey, we may sound like professionals, but we're just a couple of knuckleheads with Jeeps.
Yeah, I was going to say that last segment right there pretty much disproves we have any sort of professional operation going on over here. So, well, good times for sure. Good times for sure.
Let's get into a little more professional segment from John, Pre-Runner 1982, in our Radio Comtech segment. Now, we should have had this on last week, but I had to do a little cleanup and files, and some things got moved around, and John was good enough to put the thing back out there so that I could get it and get it for you tonight. So let's do a little Radio Comtech.
And now it's time for some Radio Comtech.
This is John, Pre-Runner 1982, and today on Radio Comtech, I'm going to discuss a couple of cell phone accessories that can make your cell phone usable even when the cell phone network goes down or you're outside of cell phone range. The first device is called the Gotenna, or Gotenna, or Goatna, whichever you prefer. Now, the Gotenna is just that, an antenna that you purchase and download the app to your smartphone. The antenna connects to the phone via Bluetooth and has a 20-foot range from the phone. Now, this comes in handy because the antenna can be strung up in a tree to increase range. The website says that the range in the city for this device is 0.5 to 1 mile, and in flatter terrain such as over water or the desert could be 4 to 6 miles. Of course, with the antenna strung up in a tree 25 feet. Yes, I said 25 feet because normally when you're using a device, it's up in front of your face, and that's about normally 5 foot off the ground. So your antenna can be up to 25 feet in the air, which could drastically increase your usable range. The GoTenna operates in the 151 megahertz, which is a MURS frequency. MURS does not require a license, and data is allowed. Text or data takes up less bandwidth than voice transmissions do, which takes up less radio spectrum. Now, the GoTenna is a text-only device, which can certainly be a downfall. Some of the features of the GoTenna is it can share your location on offline maps. It has individual and group messaging. It has a shout broadcast to anyone within range, a proximal friend map and location pinging. Text messages can be encrypted, and it is compatible with iOS and Android. The antenna is 2 watts, has a rechargeable lithium-ion battery, a micro USB connector, a nylon attachment strap, is water resistant and dust tight. This device looks to be on sale winter 2014, early 2015. One of the drawbacks of the GoTenna is that you can only communicate with other GoTenna users. So in an emergency situation, you better hope there's GoTenna users within about a mile or so of your location. You can go to the website to find out more. That's gotenna.com. The second accessory I'm going to talk about today is the Beartooth. It too allows communications via radio from your cell phone. However, it is voice and text. It is a cell phone case that has an antenna on top, much like a handy-talkie or an HT radio does. This device can communicate with other Beartooth users as well as traditional two-way radios. The first devices should operate on the FRS, GMRS, and MURS frequencies. My only concern here is GMRS requires a license, and FRS has a 0.5 watt max. Future applications include ham on 2 meter and 70 centimeter bands, as well as commercial, industrial, and public safety applications. The range of this device can be up to 2 miles, typical of a two-way radio with minimal wattage. This too offers text message encryption, much like the GoTenna does. At this time, there is no estimated release date. The device is also not yet FCC approved. The device also has a 2,000 milliamp hour battery, doubling the life of the phone. Now, the benefit of this device is the ability to communicate with other two-way radios, where the GoTenna is limited to other GoTenna users. However, I think this radio could benefit from the Bluetooth antenna design of the GoTenna, allowing you to string the antenna up in a tree for more distant communications. A Bluetooth antenna may also not allow it to be FRS compatible, as the FCC requires an FRS radio to have a non-removable antenna. Find out more about Beartooth, go to beartooth.com. I look forward to finding out more about Beartooth, and we'll certainly keep an eye on both of these devices as they come more readily available, and perhaps do a follow-up report sometime in the future. I would also like to thank James Hager for posting the link to the Beartooth on the XJ Talk members Facebook group. If you have any comments, questions, or anything you'd like for me to talk about on a future Radio Comtech segment, send me an email, prerunner1982@yahoo.com. This is John, prerunner1982. Clear.
I know some of you guys out there are new to Jeep and off-roading, and maybe have got there because of Skywarn or bad weather. If you don't know what Skywarn is, and you just you want to be able to get out and go from point A to point B. Well, one of the things you really need is some way to do emergency communications. Even if you're not transmitting, just be able to hear what's going on. That can be a scanner or some of these things that John talks about. Now, we'll mention real quick that the GoTenna, or whatever the hell it was called, I thought it was hilarious the way John put it, 3 different ways of saying it. Just mention to you, basically what they're doing is that little attachment is the transceiver, and you're talking from your cell phone to it via Bluetooth. So you're not using your cell phone as a transceiver. You're just using the mic and the speaker connected Bluetooth to the radio transmitter, which is that little stick-looking thing. So that's the reason why you don't get much range out of it. And I just want to wholeheartedly recommend to you, get your ham license. Get a 2-meter radio for $35 from Amazon.com, and then you can talk 30, 40 miles. It's it's a little hassle having two different things, a phone and a handy-talkie, but they're tiny, they're cheap, they're disposable nowadays, and the range on it is much greater. Ham license real easy to get. Josh has his.
Almost. Yeah, I have been studying. In fact,
good.
I've got an app on my phone now that I use just about every day, and I'm flying through the chapters, and I'm not quite to the point where I'm passing the test for every chapters yet, but as I go back and retake them, I'm familiarizing myself more and more with the questions that are coming up in the material and everything that's in there. So I'm thinking this year. This is going to be the year. The rest I've got a few months left, but yeah, it's going to happen before 2015.
So any aha moments on any of this stuff that you're learning, and you go, oh, that's how that works, or oh, I didn't realize that?
A little bit, yeah. I'm still there's still a lot to go as far as how many chapters I've still got to go through. So I'm sure there's a lot that's going to be. There's going to be a lot more of those aha moments, so to speak.
Well, I know you know a lot about electronics, car stereo type stuff, and wiring the vehicle power systems and things, but the communication side of it can be a little different. Especially, I guess the thing that I found most interesting is learning about the different size antennas depending on what frequency you were on. I did not realize that, and as soon as I learned that, I started looking at TV antennas on police vehicles, and you could see how that matched what you were seeing. It was like this thing that was in front of you that you never understood the correlation to, and then all of a sudden, boom. And of course now I can spot a police vehicle real easy by the antennas that are on it.
Yeah, right.
So we, as we promised last week, we have an interview with Tammy. You know her as Jeep Mama. If you hang out on Google Plus and you're a Jeep person, I'm sure you have seen some of her posts. She has a blog, and she'll talk a little bit about that in this interview that we did last week before last, I believe. So I know we've been going through a lot of things here, and we finally got to the point where we can play this interview. So, Josh, how about we do it?
Yeah, let's get into that. Been looking forward to this one. Jeep interview with Jeep Mama.
Hey, welcome back, guys. We have a great interview tonight with Tammy. You also know her as Jeep Mama on her blog. Tammy, thanks for being with us tonight. And first off, give us a little idea of who you are and what you're doing. I mean, obviously, there's got to be Jeep involved here.
Well, thanks for letting me be on your show. I'm from Maryland. Originally, I grew up in Minnesota and North Dakota, but ended up in Maryland as a stay-at-home mom. And I guess we got tired of our Dodge Journey, and it was time to buy a new car. And so a friend of ours was heading to Assateague to go camping with the Boy Scouts. And we were following behind him. It was like a caravan, and he pulled over his Jeep. It was a Sport, and all the boys get out and they take the top down, and I was like, man, God, I would love to do that.
Yeah.
So the next thing you know, like 2 weeks later, there I was in a Jeep.
Now, did you get it with a soft top, or it's a JK, right? What year is it?
Yeah, it's a 2013.
Is it soft top, hard top, or yes?
It's a soft top because I thought, for me, I didn't want to be out on the beach with, and it started to rain, and I wouldn't be able to get the top back on because you'd have to leave the hard top at home. Mm-hmm. So I just went for the easy way and got a soft top, and it didn't seem noisy. Like everyone said, oh, it's going to be so noisy, and it's fine, and it's cold here in Maryland, but all last winter. Jeep has a powerful heater, and it keeps you warm, even with the soft top.
Yep. You may have made a great idea, or had a great idea not getting the hard top.
Yeah, and it would have been one more thing to have to, take on and put off, and, the soft top's easy. You can just pull over and do it in like 2 minutes.
Yep.
And I could do it by myself.
Well, that was what I was going to ask, too. How about the doors? Do you take the doors off as well, or do you leave those on?
We took them off once this summer, and me and the boys, we went driving around the neighborhood, and we were freaked out.
It is a bit strange, isn't it?
It is very strange, and everyone says it's something you have to get used to. But I think I would do the front doors. I don't feel comfortable with the doors off with my boys. Well, not driving around the city. I mean, we are like right outside of DC, and people here are crazy drivers. I think maybe if we went, camping, if we were out, trail riding, I think I would take the doors off then with them in the back, but not driving around in town.
Well, have you considered tube doors instead?
Yes. Eventually I would like to get those. But with no doors and my boys in the back, and then it's just, you feel so exposed. You're not used to everybody seeing everything about you, your legs and your feet, and it's just, it's an awkward feeling. I guess it's something you have to get used to. But I know people who drive around with their doors off all the time just love it.
I like the ones that have the peg right there at the bottom of the door, and they stick their whole leg out there.
Yeah, their foot's hanging out. My luck, some car would come along and clip my leg.
I've been trying to talk my brother-in-law off of his motorcycle and into a Jeep, because you get the same type of open air feeling, but you still have more protection around you in a Wrangler.
And plus, Jeepers wave just like motorcyclists, so you're not losing anything there.
Oh, I'm so bad about waving. I get waves from everybody, and I'm like they're going by the time I get my hand up.
Shame on you.
I'm just so antisocial, my wife tells me. So
shame. My husband's the same way. He doesn't wave. He gets mad. He waves like 2 times when I let him drive, and then he's like, "Well, forget that. I'm not waving anymore." They're not waving back.
Well, let's talk about your husband. Now, your husband, this is interesting because I get the feeling your husband is not a Jeep person and not an off-road person. This was totally something that you decided you were going to do. So is that correct? Is he driving a car, or what does he drive?
Actually, he's always wanted a Jeep, but he wanted an older Jeep, like a 2-door, a CJ, something from way back when, just, to tool around in. And then I kind of stole the thunder from him and got my Jeep.
That's great.
It's actually in his name, but don't tell anyone that. So we got my Jeep, and then he was still driving around in my old 1996 Chevy Cavalier, because we were going to drive it to the ground because we didn't have a car payment. Mm-hmm. After he saw me driving around in the Jeep, he's like, "Wait a minute, I need a manly car." So he actually. I said, "Why don't you just get another Jeep? We could have 2 Jeeps. You've always wanted a Jeep." And he's like, "No." And he got himself a big, huge Chevy Avalanche truck.
Well, there you go. That's manly. Yeah. I was driving trucks before I got into Jeeps, but we now have 3 Jeeps. I have a 99 XJ, a 2003 TJ, and the 98 XJ that I drive, and I've done all the modifications too. So that's all we got around here is Jeeps. So 2 Jeeps in the family wouldn't have been a bad deal at all.
I wish. Yeah, and he doesn't get into the off-roading, but, he needs to give it a fair chance and come with me. I think he would enjoy it, and the same with my boys. But they're all, computer freaks. They like their technology. So they would rather, drive a Jeep on, some Need for Speed video game instead of the real thing.
Oh, and I know you know this. It's nothing compares with it. You can't take pictures, you can't take videos, and get the sensation of concern, either concern for your vehicle or concern for your safety because of what you're going up, over, and on the side of. So it
feels so much more intense.
Yes.
Inside your Jeep than it does even if you're there outside of the Jeep, and even when you're watching videos. It's just a different sensation when you're inside your Jeep. I can't explain it.
Now, I know because of seeing some of the things that you put up on Google Plus that you've done some modifications to your Jeep. What all things have you done, and what are you planning on doing?
I got grab handles. No, my first modification was the front bumper. I just was tired of looking like every other, stock Jeep. There are so many of them out there. So I got the front bumper from Barricade, and I was able to put it on mostly by myself. I had some help with my husband. Of course, I wasn't strong enough to get those bolts off. We didn't have any air tools, I guess is what you call them.
Right.
So he helped me do that, and then it came time to wiring the lights to move them, and they just didn't fit. And I'm like, but it has to fit. I read online, you just have to pull this and that, and it will fit. So he's like, no, we're going to have to resplice it. I'm going to go get some wires. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you, it's going to work. So while he was out running to get some wires, I just kept looking, and I figured it out all by myself, and I hooked them up. And when he got back, I'm like, see, I told you so. You didn't need to do it.
Let that be a lesson to you.
Yep. So we put that on, and I was just struggling with what I wanted to do next. My first modification I really wanted to do was get rid of the side steps and do rock sliders. And everyone's like, no, you're not going rock crawling. You don't need those. So I was thinking maybe I'll get a matching rear bumper. And then Extreme Terrain contacted me and asked me if I would review their product of theirs. And I said, sure. And so they sent me the sliders, which is actually what I really wanted.
Good.
And so that was my next one. And so now comes my third modification, which I'm just struggling with. I don't know what I want to do. I really want to lift. Some people say that you really should get to know your Jeep as it's stock when you're off-roading. It'll make you a better driver. But I really want to lift, and I want new tires, but that's going to cost a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I have to wait and see.
Tires are probably about the most fun, expensive thing that you can get. I love buying tires. It's a whole adventure. There's a smell to it. It makes such a huge difference in the look of any vehicle. Anytime you go from the standard ice cream tires that come on the vehicle to something that's more beefy, a little more. It just makes the vehicle look much different, and it's very exciting.
And the thing with tires, I've got to be careful of. Is here in Maryland, my fender has to cover the whole tire.
That's why they make Bushwhacker fender flares.
Yeah, and that's what I'm finding out. And see, everything, all of this is so new to me. So I'm like constantly on the internet researching stuff, and autos and vehicles and anything like that is just foreign to me. So everything's a learning experience.
Well, that's the fun of it, though. And over at xjtalk.com, that's why we always encourage people to ask any question, because you don't grow up knowing this stuff. You have to go through and learn it at some point in your life if you want to learn it. And it just boggles my mind how people will go to a forum and be told to, Google is your friend, and did you search for that? Or that question's been asked 1,000 times before. We don't do that on xjtalk.com, and this is the reason why. Because we get just as excited as you do, because we remember when we were asking those questions, when we were first doing it.
Right. So, and now you're making me think, maybe I should get tires next. I don't know. It's like, I wish I would just win the lottery.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, it wouldn't be as fun, because the wanting and the thinking and the planning and seeing it come together, and then somebody, a complete stranger telling you, that's a really nice looking Jeep.
Right.
That's amazing how people that wouldn't say two words to you normally will stop you and ask you questions or give you a compliment about your Jeep. It's really cool.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you, I was going to tell you, the only damage that I've done on my Jeep off-road was I dented the rocker on the driver's side.
Wow.
And I was told you don't need sliders, because you're not going to have a problem over at this nearby off-road park called Creekside. They don't have any rocks. You don't have to worry about that. Well, yeah, I found a submerged tree stump. So, yeah, I bent the rocker, and I had to pull it out, and I covered it up, and I took care of it. Well, I got sliders. So I'm really happy to hear you got sliders on there, because it's better to have them and not need them than to get them afterwards and have to do a repair.
Well, ironically, they hadn't arrived yet when I went to Roush Creek for my 201 driving course, the second one I took.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyle, the instructor, was guiding me through this obstacle of, some little tiny rock crawling, I would say. So once I got through it, I'm like, okay, phew, and I let my guard down, and I must have hit another rock the wrong way, and all of a sudden crunch, and everybody there was like, what was that? And they're running around looking at my Jeep, and we didn't see any damage. But then when I got home and I was taking my side rails off and putting the rock sliders on, I had cracked the bottom of my side step, and I had pulled one of the bolts and the connector off the side step just from that little itty bitty rock. So I think it was a great decision to put on those sliders. Even there, I mean, they were just itty bitty rocks.
Well, I don't know if you've considered this or not, but what you have there is a great escape vehicle as well, where people are going to be stuck basically on the highway trying to get out of town. You're not going to be, and the sliders you may not use on rocks. You may not use them technically off-road at a park. You may use them just trying to get from point A to point B, getting around everybody else that's stuck on the roads. So I don't think people consider that whenever they're doing these things. They say, like what you heard, oh, you're not going to do rocks, so you'll never need those. Well, you don't know what you're going to need them for, because, like I said, it's a vehicle that can get you places where nobody else can normally go. Right. I was going to ask you about your front bumper. Is that a winch bumper? Do you have plans for a winch?
Yeah, I would, yes, eventually. And it's, am I going to use it? And I'm thinking, well, probably not. But actually, I'm maybe not to pull myself out, knock on wood. Watch, it'll happen the next time I go off-roading. But, we have snow here, and last year, there was tons of neighbors in the neighborhood stuck in the ditches, so, it would have come in handy.
Oh, you're going to be Cadillacing in that snow. You're going to be looking at everybody going, oh, you poor bastards. You got your little cars, and here I am in my Jeep, and you guys were giving me a hard time about wasting the fuel and damaging the environment. But look at me, I'm driving on this.
Nanny boo-boo. So, it was fun last year. We got a foot, 2 feet of snow. And I said, honey, I'm going to go out and just look around. I was out in the neighborhood driving around for 2 hours.
Yeah, I can see that. So let's get back to that course that you went to, that you took. You said it was at Roush Creek?
Yeah, Roush Creek in Pennsylvania. It's in an old coal mine. Mm-hmm.
I think I've seen it on TV. I mean, I'm sure you knew ahead of time what was going to be going on with this, but what did you learn out there?
I learned so much. The first time I went, it was a private lesson. It was just me and the instructor, and he showed me about which I didn't know what it was. I always saw this button on my Jeep, and it was just this Jeep going down a hill or up a hill. I can't remember what it looks like. And I'm like, I wonder what this is for. And I never pushed it. But it's the hill descent button.
Oh, so it drops you down into first gear.
I'm going down this rocky hill, and he's like, take your foot off the gas and take your foot off the brake. And I'm like, no, I'm going down a hill. He's like, trust me. And so I did it, and the Jeep drove itself down this hill. And I was like, oh, my God. I was so amazed. And I will have to admit, I did not know this. But when you put it in four-wheel low, he's like, it's like a manual. See this little plus and minus sign there? And he's like, that's first gear, second gear, third gear. And he was explaining how, and I'm like, wow, I never knew that. And these are, they don't tell you this stuff at the dealership. All I know my whole life is you get in the car, put the key in, and, turn it on and you go. I never grew up, with 4x4. And so all this stuff was just new to me, and it was exciting because it was, you're learning something new. What else did I
guess probably what was the most exciting or nerve-wracking or concerning thing that you did when you were learning that? I mean, it certainly sounds like going down the steep incline, just letting the engine doing the braking, so to speak, for the vehicle was kind of concerning. But was there anything did you at any time feel like you were going to roll over? Because I think that's one of the biggest fears that everybody has.
Right. Well, it's funny because I saw a video before I went there. I just went on YouTube to look just to see what I was getting myself into.
Right.
And there's this video of the instructor, and the Jeep's on this slight incline at an angle, and he gets on the Jeep and he grabs the top of the Jeep, and he's on the outside of the door with his feet on the side step, and he's rocking it like he's going to try to tip it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, and I noticed it didn't tip. And I'm like, okay, so he went and did that to me thinking he's going to freak me out. But I knew it wouldn't tip. But when I'm sitting there in the Jeep and I'm like, holy moly, this thing is going to flip over. And it didn't. So I think, that rumor or that, saying that everyone says, oh, you're going to flip your Jeep, I mean, I know it does happen, but it's not going to happen when you think it is because it's, they're pretty stable.
Yeah.
It's just that sensation you get when you're inside the Jeep is just so different.
I'll be watching the news in the morning usually, and they'll show traffic, and occasionally you will see a vehicle that's flipped over on its top on the freeway.
Right.
And I'll comment on Twitter, it's not a Jeep. There's another car flipped over on the freeway, and it's still not a Jeep.
Right. I think that the other thing that was hard was this is my daily driver. This is the car, the vehicle that I use to take my kids to soccer and, to get groceries. So it was a little nerve-wracking that I was going to damage it. But, after going to Rausch Creek twice, and then I went to Nemacolin Resort, and those trails were more muddy. And just seeing what I could really do in a stock Jeep, it's amazing what, it can go through, and it comes out fine. Even the noises you hear when it's scraping the bottom of your Jeep and bouncing around, and they're tough. They're very tough.
Oh yeah, they really are, and they're great from the factory, like you've already found out. Now, I'm like you. I'm the same position you're in. I haven't been off-road that often in mine, but mine is my daily driver. I've modified it quite extensively, but I still drive it back and forth to work every day, and that's my concern, is getting out there and breaking a U-joint on an axle, and then I have to busily work all day Sunday to try to get that thing back together so I can go to work Monday.
Right.
But a lot of that, the concern I have comes from me not taking it off-road that much and getting it back home, because when you experience that, that's whenever you start getting the relief and you understand that, okay, it's not going to break, or I'm in control over that. So, I can get it back in one piece, and then I can make it to work. Or in your case, you can take the kids where they need to go.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's all a matter of knowing what it can and can't do and taking it slow.
Mm-hmm.
Just going on, like at Rausch Creek, the first time he took me on all the green trails, which are, the easy trails, and he took me on some of the blue trails. And then this next time we went on a little tougher blue trails, and you're like, okay, I can do that. It's not so bad. I don't think right now I would never take it out on, rock crawling, because, I don't think she would be able to do that unless she was lifted a little more. But, the green and the blue trails, a stock Jeep, no problem.
Now, so you don't have front disconnects yet, so that you don't so you can get better articulation. I guess on the TJ they probably have rear disconnects. I've not learned that aspect of it, because the TJ we have, we don't take off road. That's the one my wife drives, and I'm certainly not going to do anything to it where she's going to get after me.
Right.
I've got mine set up better for that than hers, but I do have front disconnects. I have leaf springs at the back where I think you have coils. But disconnecting those wheels so they can drop and get a little more articulation really is nice. Now, of course, I'm sure the lift is there so that you can put the larger tires on, and the larger tires are there so that you can get better clearance between the bottom of that the front and rear differential and whatever it is you're trying to go over. So I think a lot of people think that the tires make the difference about what you can get in and go through. And it really does, but it's not because of the tires, it's because of the additional height.
Right,
So that's one thing to consider. Also, too, it makes it look badass, which is the really cool thing.
my son's calls it beast mode. I got to make my Jeep look beast mode.
Yeah.
Okay, he wants a 40 cal on it. I'm like, I don't think so.
I was going to ask you earlier, how old are your boys?
My oldest is going to be 15 here in about a month, and my youngest is 9.
I can't believe the 15-year-old isn't all guns for getting out there and driving the thing off-road.
If it were his dad's Jeep, he would be so into it. But anything, he's like anti-mom. So whatever I get.
Yeah, I guess so. That's about the right age for that.
Yeah. So Because, moms just aren't very cool in the eyes of a teenage boy.
Well, I suspect that you get a nice bumper with a tire carrier that swings out or swings down, and if you haven't already got the sliders on there, the sliders and the lift and the tires, Mom's going to be a lot more cooler, especially as he starts hearing things from people.
Well, and he's going to be getting his license here in about a year, so he's going to, he's going to want to probably not drive the Jeep Mom Jeep with the license plate, but you never know. And friends like the Jeep, so.
Yeah, Jeeps are cool. There's just no two ways about it.
And I went and picked him up at school today, and there was probably 4 Jeeps in the parking lot, students with Jeep Wranglers.
Yep, Jeeps are really getting very popular. Jeep's doing really well, even with that 2014 Jeep Cherokee that so many of us that are real Cherokee owners hate.
Yep.
Well, Tammy, this has been a great interview, and as I do with all my guests, I like to ask if people would like to get in touch with you or read more about your Jeep and your adventures, how could they go about doing that?
Well, I have a Jeep Mama Facebook page. I'm on Twitter at Mama Jeep, and I'm on Instagram, Jeep_Mama, and my blog is www.jeepmama.com.
And if I remember right, because I think I see a lot of that same stuff on Google Plus.
Oh, yep, I'm on Google Plus as well. Thank you.
Oh, that's right. But if I think that I see some of the same stuff that I've seen on your blog, so there's a lot of interesting things that you put on your blog about like putting the bumpers on and your decisions that you go through, and I think you even asked some questions about at least on Google Plus about how you should do things and with your Jeep and getting input from people. So
yeah, and honestly, that has been fantastic. The outpouring of positive response from other Jeepers sharing their experiences, and just it's been a great experience getting to know all these people.
Yep. And hopefully that'll continue, and you won't get run across any of the bad apples.
Right. Not yet, knock on wood.
Yeah, but we all know they're out there. So, and the other thing was, so you're getting Jeep Waves. Were you getting them when it was stock, or did you have to get the modification on there first?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Whenever you started getting the Jeep Waves, was it prior to the modifications or after?
It's about the same. And a lot of, and I don't know if it's here and everyone says no, it's like this everywhere, but I think I get more waves from non-stock Wranglers than, like the newer Wranglers. I get more waves from the older Jeeps than I get from the newer Jeeps.
Yeah, that's interesting.
The people who buy the newer Jeep Wranglers, like the 13s and the 14s and even the 12s, they don't wave. And I think to them, a Jeep is just another car. They don't think they get it. And you just want to pull them over and shake them. Hello, you're supposed to wave.
Yeah,
there's tickets.
Yeah.
The Jeep police.
That's right. And actually, I think there was an XJ Talk member that had actually taken a sticker that's basically a handprint and put it on their mirror and says Jeep Wave. So
actually, I was going to buy those, and I have a business card. And one of my blogs is about the Jeep Wave, and I have a business card that talks about the Jeep Wave, and it links to this blog, and I'm starting to put it on Jeeps and parking lots in their windshield. So hopefully, I'll slowly educate the world.
Yeah, that's the way to look at it. Tell us the address to your blog one more time.
www.jeepmama.com.
Great. You guys check her out. Tammy, thanks so much for the great interview.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, Josh, can you tell she's excited about Jeeps?
Heck yeah. No, that is just the coolest thing ever. And she's got two very lucky, well, I'm assuming two lucky sons.
Yes.
Her family's very lucky to have a mom like that, is so involved with Jeeps and the off-roading and getting lessons and stuff like that. That is just very, very cool.
Well, and the great thing about doing the interview was I didn't realize that nobody in the family is into off-roading. She's going out there by herself and learning how to go off-road, learning how to use this Jeep. How many women do you know that would take on that task just because they think it's cool and fun and they want to learn?
Not many that I know, seriously. So she's what we might call a diamond in the rough.
Yep. Well, I think there's more women than just Tammy that is interested in the off-road thing, and they're a little timid because it doesn't fit the mold of what a woman should be doing, and that's one of the reasons why it struck me that here's somebody that's very intense on the Jeep hobby, and really got bitten by the bug, and she's getting doing the bumpers and doing the modifications and doing all the same stuff that we've gone through, and perhaps she could be a role model for those women that maybe wouldn't have normally chosen to get into the sport. And I don't know about you, but I mean, it's great to be out there off-road with a bunch of guys, but I wouldn't mind having a few women thrown in there too, because it's always great to have everybody involved.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's definitely a family sport. There's no, sexist aspect to it at all. The more the merrier, I look at it. So yeah, no, kudos, big thumbs up, to Jeep Mama. Hey guys, I want to, not only thank Tammy Jeep Mama for this awesome interview, but also like to thank, somebody who would, normally you guys would hear a spot about here as we would roll into what would normally be filled in the spot, which would be, the Amazon You Bought What segment. You guys are going to have to stay tuned for next week when we bring that segment back. But I don't want to go another minute without saying thank you to NOCO and telling you guys about these Genius Boost chargers. These things are probably one of the most quintessential items that you should have in both your vehicle and your off-road vehicle and any other vehicle you have in the house. You're worried about something like a boost box being this small and not having the juice to, spark up a 4-liter that's dead in the water. In fact, these things can hold charge up to a year, good for 20 starts, up to a 6-liter engine. That's right, guys, a big, fat engine. These things can start just about any engine on the planet. And not only that, these things are super rugged. Check this stuff out. You guys have got to be seeing the live show to check out some of this stuff. Weatherproof connectors all around, 12-volt output. This thing is idiot-proof, meaning you can't hook it up backwards. You're worried about your wife jumping the car. She has never touched a set of jumper cables in her life. This thing can be hooked up bass-ackwards and still function properly without killing itself. It'll actually tell you that it's not hooked up right. LED lights light up. Make sure you guys tells you what you're be doing and all that. And it's a one push button start, easy to work. Even has light output. Ooh, lots of light outputs, including strobe, warning, and even some wig-wag there. Guys, these things are the kind of stuff that you want to have in your vehicle. Genius Boost by NOCO. Go check them out and get one today. You can find them on Amazon.com.
Yeah, and I think you can actually, it has a USB plug on it, doesn't it, where you can actually power your cell phone and charge it up. And, I mean, my God, the thing does everything except make sandwiches and slice bread.
Exactly. It is USB chargeable, or you can hook it up to your wall plug or whatever through the supplied USB cable. It even has a USB output. So if your battery's getting low, you're stuck out in the middle of nowhere, don't necessarily need a boost, but you need some extra juice in the cell phone, this thing can charge up your cell phone lickety-split. Not to mention the lights as well. But also, guys, included in that is the cigarette lighter dongle. And this thing just plugs right into your cigarette lighter, and you can charge it right there. Everything you need here is in the kit. All is included. Guys, go out and get your NOCO GB30 Genius Boost charger right now.
Oh, and I guess I'll go ahead and spill the beans. On upcoming Amazon You Bought What segments, we're going to be giving you an opportunity to get a free Genius Booster. That's right. You're going to be able to get free stuff from the XJ Talk Show.
That's right, guys. We're going to be giving away NOCO boosters in upcoming You Bought What segments. So if you guys want to get your hand on one of these absolutely free, well, you're going to have to tune into the XJ Talk Show.
Yep. Tune in next week for more information, and it's going to be during our Amazon You Bought What segment. And as you guys know, that's every other week we do the Amazon You Bought What. Missed it this week. We had just too much stuff going on to be able to cram some Amazon You Bought What in there. So we'll be doing that next week and be giving you more information on how to win your own Genius Boost from NOCO. Now, Josh didn't misspeak. He said plural, because we're going to be giving away more than one, and it won't be two. It'll be more than that. So
that's right.
So stick in there.
That wraps it up for this week's show, guys. Thanks for tuning in, our live audience. Big thanks to everybody who contributed. Steve, for another Jeep Archives. Lots of useful information there. Looking forward to more of those as well. Can't forget about John Pre-Runner 1982 for a great Radio ComTech. I'm actually going to be doing some research on both of those items. That cell phone case looks pretty cool. That's something that I think would really go well over on the trails. A lot of people would be interested in that stuff. And of course, Tammy, Jeep Mama, for the awesome interview. Keep Jeeping out there, guys. We'd love to hear from you. So make sure you guys are calling our 24/7 voicemail line, 503-675-4102. 24/7 means nobody's going to answer that phone. We want to hear from you.
Nobody will be answering it except a digital recorder waiting for you to say a few syllables. And, like we say, you don't have to keep it clean either. It's kind of fun bleeping this stuff. I just hope I don't miss anything, Josh, in my quick efforts of editing, kind of like Steve's segment.
I was going to say like a rogue guitar solo in there every now and again. No, it's all part of the fun and games, guys. Speaking of fun and games, head over to Facebook. Check us out on Twitter, Stitcher Radio, TuneIn.com. Of course, you can find us on iTunes, broadcasting live every week, 10 p.m. Thursday Central Time, over on YouTube.com, as well as XJTalkShow.com, where you guys can find our entire show archive for free.
Oh, and I got to mention XJTalk.com. It's a forum about Jeeps. It's the reason why we're here. And, it is XJ, as in Cherokee, but we welcome everybody that has a Jeep over there. We even have a 2014 Jeep Cherokee section. So, and boy, is it just blowing up with posts.
So as you guys can see, it's really easy to become part of the show. All you got to do is drop us a line. Let us know you're interested. Let us know what you guys can do for the XJ Talk Show, and who knows, you might just end up on the air.
Oh, yeah, and if you'd like to do an interview, got an interesting story, a UFO abduction, your Jeep came back with a new engine, anything like that, just send us an email at interviews@xjtalkshow.com.
And please go check out friend of the show, Hidden Wounds XJ. They're doing some really good stuff, guys. Make sure you pop over to their Facebook page and help support the cause.
Till next week, you guys have a great Jeep week.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey, thanks for taking that thing out of the box. I was just thinking you could just hold the box up.
Yeah, why not? I figured give people a little eye candy.
So I saw NOCO put something up on Facebook today, I believe, about a review. I didn't have a chance to look at it. I know you're probably not wanting to hear about going to do a review anytime soon, but you're the only one in this group that can, since you're the only one that has one.
Yeah, no, I will. I've got to charge this thing up, and then I will definitely be doing that here very soon.
I still can't believe it. I mean, we really are in the 21st century. Whenever you can have something that small and be able to jump start 20 times. I mean, that thing could literally save your life, whether it be charging the cell phone or allowing you to use the cell phone with a dead battery to call for help, or get you out of harm's way because you can't start your vehicle. I mean.
Exactly.
I gotta see how I can get one of those things so I can put that in the wife's Jeep.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, great for parents or something like that, for the wife. I mean, really, if you own a vehicle, your family owns a vehicle, you guys gotta have one of these in every car, really, because who wants to carry around one of those car batteries in a box type of thing? You know,
Right.
they weigh a metric ton. They take up a lot of room. These things can be stored almost in a glove box, really. And with all the weatherproof connectors and stuff like that, you can throw them in the back of the Jeep and not worry about if you spill something on it, if it gets some dirt or mud on it or something like that. These things are about as rugged as they come.
Well, you can certainly put it in the center console if you've got one.
Easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
I was really surprised how small that was when you held it up. And it looks like it's well packaged. I mean, they have a lot of, the name and stuff on all over everything. It's just very nicely done. It's like no surface was left unmarked.
Exactly. Well, there was one.
Oh, no. As soon as I say it, there comes one.
Oh, yeah.
It seems to be a really nice product. It looks like it's very well made.
And it's hefty. I mean, this isn't some crappy plastic. This has a very rugged feel to it. I mean, this is very, very stout. I was a little worried seeing some of the pictures of it that, geez, if I drop that out on the road or out on the trail, this thing might just bust in half. No, not this thing. I mean, with all the support ribs and everything like that, you can tell the construction, how rugged it is just by holding it, the way it feels in your hand and everything. And I mean, there's even in the pouring down rain, this thing's not going to slip out of your hand.
Mm-hmm. Does it kind of feel like it's rubberized?
No, it's not quite rubberized. It doesn't have that soft, but it is. Here, let me see if I can hold this up to the mic here. I mean, it's plastic for sure.
Yeah.
But
most things are though.
But actually, you know what? No, the bottom is rubberized.
Oh, okay. So it would hold itself.
Yeah, the bottom is a little bit rubberized. It definitely has a different texture to it, and it's a little bit softer. I can actually kind of poke my fingernail into it a little bit. It has some give a little bit, and it has these little feet on the bottom as well that are a little bit softer. It might be I think they might even be a little softer still, but nonetheless, just very stout product. I'm very, very impressed.
Hold that up and just hold it there for a few seconds. Back a little bit. There you go. Yeah, and on the read, it was really good. The only thing is that you should have held the Genius Boost up a little longer, where you're talking and you have it, kind of like you do in there, except I can still see you talking.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I think that worked out. Yeah. I thought that was funny. I said, "Give it a kiss."
No, I mean the texture of the buttons and everything, the raised soft touch buttons and stuff. I mean, this thing is, all the you turn it on and it shows you all the LED indicators are working. Status indicator, whether you have it hooked up right or wrong. I'm
surprised you haven't been carrying that thing with you going back and forth to work.
Yeah, it might be a good idea because I have such a long commute.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, there's some videos of some people starting an engine without the battery. So these things are so rugged internal.
That's just so hard to believe.
These things are so rugged internally, even that they can start an engine by themselves without the compactance of the battery in line.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's lithium-ion technology for you.
Yeah, and these lights are pretty dang bright. I mean, tell you the truth.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought the wig-wag was fun. I could see you driving down the road in the Honda holding that thing out. Get out of the way! Civilians, move!
Where is it?
Yeah, there you go.
There it is. Yeah, I'm going to paint one red and paint one blue. Hold in the dash. Oh, you know what? No, it's doing SOS. Or something. No, maybe it's just a random flash pattern. Yeah, it's a random flash pattern.
Or something. You know, that would be, if you were stuck out in the trail at night, you could hold that up, put it on top of the Jeep.
Really, seriously though, in the dead of night, you're stuck out on a trail and you got a group that's coming to try and find you. I bet you could see those LEDs from a mile away.
Yep. Further, I bet you could see it for 10 miles away. I think we were discussing this, weren't we, about the candlelight? The human eye can see a candle at, was it 1 mile or 10 miles? I bet you neither one of us looked it up. I forgot about it.
Yeah, no, I used to know those stats, but I can't remember now.
Well, I am tired. I've been tired all evening from doing all that work at work and then coming home and doing all the work to get everything mixed up and then get it mixed up during the show.
I was going to say, you did have it mixed up, didn't you? No, kidding.
So I am going to get out of here. We're going to go ahead and so we can get our little promo made, and we'll get out of here and get some rest and go pick up Mom's car in the morning, and hopefully that'll all work out, and she won't be spending $9,000. 9 times.
9 times.
1,000 is 9,000. Okay, so thanks a lot, guys, for being here tonight. Tammy, thanks for coming to the show. I know you're out there where it is already almost 1 o'clock in the morning. Thanks for sticking with us. Yeah, she's East Coast, man. Thanks for sticking with us, and great interview. Really enjoyed it. Like I said in the chat, I was shooting for 15 minutes, and I just kept thinking of questions and enjoying all the things I was hearing, all the infectious, the Jeep infection that Tammy has got, and I still can't believe that the rest of the fam isn't involved. I mean, especially that 15-year-old boy. I mean, I think I would have been all over that Jeep and helping, doing things with it. And can I drive? Can I drive? No, you don't need a license to drive off-road.
That's right.
Really? So anyway, you guys have a great night. Thank you a lot for joining us again, and please join us every week right here on YouTube. Well, actually, xjtalkshow.com or YouTube, but we would prefer to have you over here with the chat room so you can chime in and we can all enjoy your witty comments and questions. So till next week, join us, and we'll have Amazon You Bought What, and Josh and I got to think up a way to give away these NoCo Genius Boosts.
Yeah, we sure do. You guys got a suggestion, drop us a line.
Yeah.
We might use it.
Yeah, please do. Anyway, you guys have a great night. Thanks, and we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Short and sweet. I knew a girl whose name was Short and Sweet.